Welcome to Syntax. Today we have a whole bunch of apps you need for your computer. So these are not necessarily 100% development applications, but these are applications that Scott and I cannot live without just as people who work on computers, and they're super handy. So we're going to go through, I think we have a list of 30 of them, and there's going to be some serious nuggets in them. A lot of these are going to be fairly focused on the Mac version. However, we will recommend a good enough Windows version, or throw it in the comments below if there's a similar Windows version of these apps that you like to run.
Yeah, because I'm not personally familiar enough with Windows, or even, I guess, Linux to a degree as a platform to know exactly what's out there. So if you have an alternative to these, please leave it in the YouTube comments below, and that way we can help other people out. Well, so many of these things are going to be focused on productivity, but if you want to make sure you're productive in solving your issues in software, you're going to want to head to sentry.io/syntax, sign up and get 2 months for free. This makes it really easy to solve and find bugs all over your application to make sure you're not wasting any time. This show is presented by Sentry. Okay, where do we want to start, Wes? What are you thinking?
Let's start with the files one. So the topics we have here are files, media, Raycast, utilities. There's a whole bunch under utilities, productivity, screenshots, screen recording, and a couple dev-related ones right at the end for you there. So the first one we have here is something called DaisyDisk. And if you have a Mac, you'll know that Apple absolutely squeezes you when you're buying your laptop, and it'll say, all right, well, it comes with 3 gigs. That's probably enough, hey? And then if you want anything other than the 3 gigs it gives you, it's like an extra $5,000. So I have a 2 terabyte hard drive here, and I still often will run out of space. And the question of where is all that space going is often hard to find out. So DaisyDisk is a application. They have a very generous free version. I paid for like $10 many years ago. And you can drop a folder or scan your entire hard drive, and it will give you a view into what's going on and where all that space is. So often I'll find myself running out of space on the computer, and I'll just go into it and be like, all right, well, like, what seems odd here? You know, like, applications. What's 75 gig? DaVinci Resolve and Xcode. 7 gigs for DaVinci Resolve, 6 gigs for Xcode. That's quite a bit. Or I'll go into my users and I'll say, okay, 1.6 terabytes in my folder. Oh, it's my videos. You have 600 gigs of videos. It's often hard to find where the heck is this space going. And this is an awesome tool. And if you have an SSD, which most laptops do, it scans your entire SSD in like 5 minutes, or not even 5 minutes, like 10 seconds. Let's see. Let's go back here. Let's go back. Rescan. So you see here, I've been waiting for about 20 seconds, and it's like 20% through. So it takes a minute or two to scan your entire disk and gives you really good insights as to where the hell is that space taken.
Yeah, I've been using DaisyDisk forever and ever and ever. And somebody like me is visual. I use it a lot, even to find where, like, on my NAS drive, right? I use my NAS drive as just throw anything in there. And oftentimes you might not even realize that you've thrown gigabytes and gigabytes worth of video recordings that you're not using, especially someone like me recording a massive amount of screen recordings.
Oh, I didn't even think to use this for a remote drive. Yeah.
Oh, I use this on my remote drives all the time. It works just fine, works totally fine. And I definitely rely on this as well. DaisyDisk is one of my favorites. Another of my newer favorite apps is Marta, which is a nice file browser for Mac OS. It has really good keyboard support. It has a built-in terminal. It feels like a developer-friendly file browser. I never liked Finder. I think Finder is one of the worst pieces of software on the Mac.
Whoa.
So yeah. So Marta.sh, this is one of the few things I do actually subscribe to on Patreon. So I am a patron of this. And this thing is fully extendable too. I even did a bit of a syntax theme for mine, as you can see here. So I wrote a theme for it. And you can do all kinds of things. You can extend it in all sorts of ways. And I think it's fantastic. So I even the best part about it, I think, is probably the keyboard shortcuts and all that stuff.
Can you show you using it right now?
Yeah, the problem is that you cannot easily zoom in on this. So it's very small if you're watching on YouTube. So there's no easy way for me to zoom in on this.
You can't do this?
Maybe.
See, look at my screen right now.
How are you doing that?
I hold down... Oh, man, you don't got this set up?
No.
Okay.
I know how to do, where you hold Option and use the
yeah.
Or
you hold down Option and you use your mouse, or hold down Control and scroll your mouse wheel. You have to turn it on.
Control. Okay, there we go.
Yes, there you go.
Well, either way, this is it. And as you can see, there's nice little, really good keyboard shortcuts in general.
Can you right-click on something?
Right-click on something, yes.
Okay. Reveal and
so you
Finder.
get access to like the kind of stuff that you would want. But for the most part, it's great because you have the dual pane set up. That's like very common in many file browsers outside of Finder. You don't have to worry about tabs or anything like that. And what's really neat about this project is that there's this interesting, this author who made this is really kind of a fascinating dude. He wrote this DSL that is kind of like JSON mixed with YAML or something. You can see it's kind of like Stylus. You remember Stylus? It's kind of like that as a DSL for modifying this. And there's a whole bunch of built-in themes. There's a plugin API, quick search, disk usage. There's a lot of stuff here. And for a long time, he wasn't updating this at all. But as you can see, there's a new blog post as of August 2024, back on track. So I've been really stoked that this development has resumed on this thing.
Yeah.
And that was it for me. I think there was a couple of little bugs, and I just got this new update today. So hopefully there are no more bugs, but you never know, right? Either way, it's a cool app that I don't think people know about.
There's probably no more bugs. That's
probably no more bugs.
And it has a terminal built in. I've always said this, like, oh, I wish that terminal had a little bit more GUI to it, And
that's exactly
so
what
you
this is, yeah.
You can change files on the terminal and it will reflect it up top.
That's a great question.
That's what
I don't
it
even
says.
open my terminal. I haven't been using this for like a month or two here because I was waiting for this update. So.
Oh, okay. Man,
yes.
I want to try this.
Yes, it's a cool app, and you can get using it for free. There's no like barrier there, and you can support their development of it if you'd like to do that via Patreon. But it is. I found it to be great. It's fully customizable, and as a tinkerer and somebody like that, I spent way too long working on a syntax theme for this. So
that's great. All right, next one
cool
we have here, and it might be Sherlocked by the app you just recommended, but it's one called EasyFind. So the search in macOS is awful. Absolutely awful. If you ever want to find a file, especially us developers have bajillions of node modules, and the search will look through all of that, and often it will find that. So this one, I've only used it a couple times, but when I really need to find a file that's on my computer and I, for the life of me, cannot find where it is, this EasyFind does a much better job at allowing you to do regex or fuzzy matching, or you can say only find, like you can have a bunch of presets here. So only find code files or only look for JPEGs or media. And it's just a much better handle on doing search. There's a couple of other ones. I know Raycast I'm in the Raycast beta right now for their built-in search. But I still miss the Windows search where that little dog would wag his tail on Windows XP. He would always find what I needed. But the Mac OS search has just been awful. So very happy with this. It takes a little bit longer, but I have like 2 terabytes of files and it scans my entire hard drive very, very quickly.
Yeah. I've never understood why Finder is so awful. It's the slowest thing in the entire world, and it never finds anything. I end up almost always going to my command line and using the find command. I did find that the Marta app that I showed, the search on it is not any faster than Finder. So I think there's something with the indexing in it. But since you have the terminal right there, you could use Find directly from there. But I've always wanted an app that has a better Find. Is this one fast, you said?
It's pretty fast. But the thing about Find, like I asked on Twitter a couple of months ago, and everyone's like, just use grep or find on whatever.
Yeah,
but like that doesn't search inside of files. Like if I'm looking for, I had an API key in one of these files. I want to see, where did I reference process.env.something.openai or something like that. If I want to be able to find that, then that will search inside of all your files, which is absolutely key for me.
Nice. The next one here I have is, and I'm sorry, this is, making my Polish heritage.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, this is a Polish word. I can't even read this. Czkawka. Yeah, man, Polish is tough. I'll tell you that. Actually, Wes, did you know I found out that I'm only like a quarter Polish?
Yes,
I thought I was like my whole life. I thought I was much more Polish than I am, maybe just because of the last name. But turns out I'm mostly British. So I guess
that's unfortunate.
There's that. So there's a Czkawka is a application of something I've always loved, is a duplicate finder. And duplicate finders, there's some that like Gemini you have to pay a bunch of money for and something like that. This thing is open source. There's a CLI version for it. There is a GUI of it. It looks like it's from 1992. But the cool thing about this is it does work on Linux, Windows, Mac OS, FreeBSD. So it works on everything. And I'm not going to run it because it takes a massive amount of your computer's resources to run it, especially if you're looking at like your NAS drive or something like that. But again, I have all this social clips and movie clip, and I'm dragging them to my NAS. I keep a copy on my computer. I have a backup here. I have a backup there. And then over the course of 10 years, you end up having the same file in a whole bunch of locations. So this thing can actually dive into the file. It can compare videos. It can compare files. It can do a search for just big files and find the largest files or empty directories and remove all the empty directories or broken files and valid symlinks. And you can see this little GIF here of what it looks like in action. And the only bummer thing about this app is that you can't just at least I wasn't able to find a way that you could just download it. I actually have to launch this from the command line to get it to even open up as a GUI. So it's not exactly the friendliest app of all time, but if you follow the instructions on getting up and running, it does work really, really well. I would love to have something like automated in this because I do have a bit of file automation where I'm sending things here, sending things there, and I'd maybe like this to run on an interval and remove duplicates in certain folders or whatever, because, I have automatically sending screenshots that I take. So I take a lot of screenshots anytime I want to show anything. I take a screenshot, and then that screenshot gets uploaded to a folder on my NAS, and I need more automation with these tools at the end of the day.
Next one I have here is Backblaze. I've been a big fan of Backblaze for, probably 8 years or so. And what Backblaze does is it backs up your computer to the cloud. So it's not like a Dropbox where you put files in it and it will sync it and whatnot. It's simply just install it on your computer, and it will by default back up your entire hard drive over time. And as the files change, it will just kind of back them up. And you can see here, I've got 1.5 terabytes. This is 5 million files. That's the node modules for you. And it's just continuously backing up your files. And it's saved me many times in the past of, I accidentally deleted that and I didn't have a backup of it. Or, oops. The real one is this file is corrupt. When did that happen? And you're able to go back in time. Of course, I run a time machine locally, but a backup of a single hard drive being your backup in the same spot is not burglary proof. Burglary. The Hamburglar could take it. It's if you have a fire, you're going to have it. We've talked many times about you have to have multiple backups, you have to have local backups, and you have to have remote backups. And one cool thing they'll do is if you do ever need a backup and you cannot download everything at once, you can simply just get them to send you a hard drive via like FedEx or something, which I'm sure it's not cheap, but if you need it, you need it. So I have this. I run it on my computer, I run it on my wife's computer. A big fan of it.
Nice. Another one here I have for files is File Automation. This is one of my favorite apps. It's for Mac specifically, but it's File Automation, and it's really, really pretty awesome. I use this for all kinds of things. So I have a dump folder where I just throw any file into the dump folder. All that folder does is it sends it to my inbox that's on the 36th chamber, which is my NAS drive. And once it's in the 36th chamber, it either finds images. If it's an image, like a photo, if it's a photo, it throws it into my photo backup directory, which is then consumed by Synology. If it contains the word tax, like any of my tax documents, it automatically puts it in my financial tax folder. If it's a movie, it puts it in my movies, music, screenshots, whatever. So it does all of that automated.
This is called Hazel, by the way. You didn't mention the name yet.
Oh, okay. Hazel at noodlesoft.com. This app works really super well. I have it paused right now, but you can set up as many rules as you want. Those types of rules can be like intricate. You could even call like Apple scripts from your rules and stuff like that. So you can get really, really in depth with it. And they have a pretty good forum full of people sharing things that they're working on themselves. But I use this to like clean up my desktop or make sure that like I have a temp folder where I just made a temp folder. And anytime I have a file that I just want to keep temporarily, it automatically clears that folder after a month or so. And so, I even have like
for downloads.
Here's a thing too, where Mac OS, if you have a NAS drive and that NAS drive has a ton of files into it, like let's say every time I take a screenshot, it puts it in my screenshots folder on my NAS. Mac is really awful at loading up that folder if it has a lot of files, and it comes to a crawl for some reason. I don't know why. So what I have one is I said, if this file is older than a week old, put it in the archive folder, or you could even have it like a subfolder based on the date or something. And then that way, if I want to go to my most recent screenshots, it's only showing me the past week of screenshots, and it still loads fast instead of having this like really chugging slowdown. So I found this automation tool to be pretty great. It's one that you can really geek out on in terms of like how in depth you want to go into this thing. Yeah. It's an actively built thing. There's a lot of people using it. There's a lot of discussions, tips and tricks, all sorts of stuff. So there's a deep well of things to learn about this software, but it's super powerful.
I need to get this because I've written a handful of like Apple scripts or Automator sequences in the past, and it's never great. Like Automator on Mac OS is very powerful, especially when you get into writing custom Apple scripts. But like I always feel like it's very, very clunky for what it is I'm trying to do. And this just seems like a much better UI for that type of thing.
Yeah, and you can get in as far as like people have written ones that they have examples of that will like completely reorganize. Let's say you do have like a folders directory that's gotten unruly. It will use the metadata to put them in like the correct, even by camera it's shot on to date to stuff like that. So I found the software to be pretty fantastic.
Wow.
Oh, I have another one for files here. And if you have a NAS out there, and again, on Mac, you'll know that it's constantly turning them off, or it's constantly disconnecting. If you close your laptop or whatever, it's having to reconnect it. And sometimes that's like not always super reliable. And I found a specific issue when I was using Hazel is that Hazel would get angry sometimes because the drive would not be available when it wanted to be available. So AutoMounter is a great app where you basically give it your NAS drives, you give it your NAS drives credentials, and then it makes it so those are always mounted 100% of the time. You never have to remount your NAS drives ever.
Oh, that's great. Let's move on to some media applications. This is for consuming, converting, and working with media. One of them that I use this is just an Automator script. And what it does is it watches for any HIEC or WebPs that hit my downloads folder. So often I'll be airdropping or saving a file from the web or from coming from my iPhone, and it will just immediately duplicate it, convert to JPEG, and rename itself. And that is so handy because as much as I love HIEC and WebPs, they don't work anywhere. And being able for it to automatically convert it to JPEG, or I can just right-click on something, convert to JPEG, quick action, super nice.
I feel like I feel like Apple is to blame for WebP being useless on the Mac because WebP, people like rag on it for, they get a WebP on the web or something and they're annoyed by it. But like WebP is a good format. And so like Mac, give us like QuickView support of it, whatever. I feel like it's because it's classic Apple because it's not their format that they're going to like totally like pretend that it doesn't exist. But man, these things exist. People use it. Like just give us a little bit of basic functionality for it.
Oh, the QuickView. Can we talk about QuickView for a sec? I installed all these like extensions to give you QuickView for coding, but you cannot QuickView a .ts file because TS is like a DVD format or like a video format.
Yeah.
And it's like it's hard coded into the operating system that .ts is it can't be viewed as text as a TypeScript file. So it drives me nuts.
Do you remember the DVD Studio app that came on Mac? I remember like exactly the UI. You could build DVD like really big. It was an iMovie, but I think there was like an iDVD as well where you could build really basic DVD menus. And that's actually something
I was a Nero guy.
Nero, okay. Yeah, Nero with their like burning animations and stuff like that. One thing that I've always wanted to build, and this is kind of stupid and potentially not possible because I haven't really dove in. I'm going to be honest. I really want an in-browser DVD menu interface, essentially. Like if you rip one of your DVDs, nowadays it's like you have to rip each individual file. And DVDs, like I have this one right here, Freestyle Session 8, Disc 1. There's extras and stuff on this DVD. Now I got to rip each of those individually, where it's crazy that I just have a DVD sitting over here on my desk. But I want to rip all that stuff. But what I'd really prefer is I would prefer to have the DVD itself ripped and then have that exist on a web server that I could then pop open and have the DVD menu in the browser and actually use it as a DVD was intended.
Oh,
but
how do you... What... It's got to be doable. I guarantee it's just some XML and like, what is it?
Well, it is. It's folders of metadata and stuff, and I've kind of looked into it to a degree because VLC can handle them, but this one that I have right here, IINA, which is the modern media player, does not handle them. So IINA does not handle DVDs, which is a bummer about IINA, although I do use VLC for a lot of things. VLC, classic video app, if anybody needs a video player that's more robust than QuickTime or whatever your computer came with, and VLC works with everything. I like IINA because it's just nice interface, easy to use, supports all the formats, and is like easy to use. But like, I would love to have a DVD menu support. It feels ridiculous. And Wes, actually, if you look at, we just recorded an episode on side projects, and I mentioned I have a big running to-do list of side projects. One of my big side project ideas is a DVD menu in the browser. So, yeah.
Oh, that would be great. IINA is a really cool media player, especially like, as much as I love VLC, I also hate it because every time I open a file in it, it's like the wrong aspect ratio and it like doesn't remember it. And then sometimes the audio is like past the little tick. So it's like distorted. And like, I haven't been using VLC lately just because I find it very obnoxious unless like you need like a stream from network or something like weird like that. So I switched to IINA as well, but then I was having issues with my videos being darker than they should be. Oh. So I've just been dragging videos into the browser to watch them, but I think I should give IINA another shot. I have an issue open on the GitHub for IINA.
Yeah, IINA, open source. So you a lot of the software we're talking about today is open source and some of it isn't, but the Czkawka, oh man, I already forgot that pronunciation. The duplication Czkawka. Czkawka is also open source. IINA, open source. I have a bunch more that I'm going to be talking about that are open source. So that's definitely a big theme. But yeah, this is the media player I typically use if I need to watch media. Another app I really like that's not open source, but I'm a big never Adobe kind of person. In fact, I ditched Adobe a long time ago and I refused to subscribe to a Creative Cloud. So I need alternatives. One of those alternatives is for photos, and Capture One is a really great Lightroom alternative. It is super full featured. It's a professional tool for photographers. If you I don't know if this is still a case anymore, but when I bought this, they had a special discount. If you owned a Sony camera like the A7 III or any of these cameras, they gave you a really nice reduced price on it. Doesn't look like I see that anymore. And it didn't used to be subscription-based pricing, so I have a license for it that I've bought, and I just haven't gotten the latest version of it. But this application, if you're looking for an Adobe Lightroom alternative, Capture One, really great software.
I'm going to go with a Chrome extension. It's a Chrome extension called Enhancer for YouTube. And what this does is gives you a whole bunch of extra features on top of YouTube so that you can have a little bit more control over it. The one that I use it for the most is simply just persisting 2x playback by default.
Gosh, yeah.
You know, you shouldn't have to turn on 2x absolutely every single time that you watch a YouTube video. So mine just defaults to it. And it gives you all of these nice little features here where you can turn on theater mode, or you can expand it. This is not doing much because I'm already expanded fully, but if you are in a different layout, big fan of it. You can also just put your mouse over it, and I'm just mouse wheeling right now, and you can use that to change the playback speed. The one thing I think should be added to all software, and I'm going to add it to my course player, is the TikTok press on the left to speed up. Are you?
I don't even know. I did not know you could do that.
You didn't know that? Oh my goodness! So
I'm learning this right now.
This is how I watch absolutely every single one. Let's.
The life of someone with ADHD. I watch every TikTok at 2x. Yeah.
So if you're watching a TikTok, and you just put your finger right here, and it just goes at 2x. And then you can take it off when you don't want. So
oh my gosh.
If somebody's taking a while to explain something, like I am right now,
oh my gosh,
you just press it and it goes to 2x. And I was like, that's good because you're not setting it to 2x by default. You're simply just kind of scrubbing it forward while still watching. And I was thinking like, man, that'd be kind of nice for YouTube videos, you know, like just like if you pressed and clicked, if it would go through.
Idea. That'd be easy. That'd be easy to do. I mean, you build an extension, it just overlays a div or a button, overlays a button, an invisible button. You click and hold on it. It is fast forwarding, whatever. Yeah, it's like fast forwarding a cassette tape or something like that. Yeah, love that. I have a couple of pieces of software here that are kind of classic software if you've used Mac, Windows, or Linux. HandBrake. Speaking of DVD ripping, I've been ripping a lot of DVDs. So one thing, Wes, is I have like 30 or 40 of these breakdancing DVDs, B-Boy break-in DVDs that I've had for a long time, like Freestyle Session and 8 and stuff like that. And even some of them are like, they're like skate DVDs or skate VHS tapes even, where they were like produced by one person and, you know, I don't know, they maybe sold 200 or less copies of this thing in the entire existence of it. And so many of them either exist on YouTube and are awful quality or don't exist anywhere on YouTube. I have so many of these things, and I felt like I should at least back them up. So I've been using a lot of HandBrake lately. There's also another really popular software that works with everything, MakeMKV, for ripping full-on DVDs, just ripping them straight up. And you can rip them to MKV, but you can also rip them, I believe, as a full disc, which, again, I would love that menu support in the browser.
HandBrake is one that I use all the time for my own videos because
really?
If I need to, like, I'll export them at like super high quality, and then if I need to make them available for download because people want to watch offline, like you can't give them a 3 gig file for every 20-minute video. So I'll run it through HandBrake, and I find that gets me the best. But like, somebody needs to make a HandBrake with a UI that's a bit better. I find the UI kind of complicated. We have to add the queue and then start the queue, and there's all these settings. So it's a little bit complicated to use. And that's why people use these like converter websites where you simply just upload your file to some random server and have them convert it and you download it again.
Yeah, totally. I do that all the time. I agree about the interface for this. What I do, or what I do now, is I'll just have several export presets in DaVinci and just run those. But in the past, what I would do, because YouTube has really good compression algorithms,
Yes.
I would upload it to YouTube, and then I would use YouTube DL to download their highest quality version for a small, super high quality version. That sounds absurd when I say it out loud, but that's what I would do.
Yeah, no, I've done that in the past as well. As YouTube and Vimeo, they have very good compression, so they can give you a much better quality a lot of times than these different algorithms. But a lot of these places, I'm assuming HandBrake is using FFmpeg under the hood.
Probably, yeah.
So they're probably doing that all for you.
I can't imagine it's not using, and a lot of these are just using or like any sort of video app is using FFmpeg underneath the hood to accomplish things. So really what you need is just a GUI on top of FFmpeg that isn't garbage. I used to like one called Miro, which is, there's like 800 apps called Miro,
Yes.
so it might not be the one you're thinking of, but that ended up getting like completely taken over by spam people, at least it did at some point. So yeah, that was an easy one because it gave you a few presets. I'm making this video for the web. I need this format. Go. Okay. And nice UI.
I'm going to pick one called Overkill for Mac. And this is simply an app that runs on computer and will kill iTunes or Apple Music as soon as you open it. So if you have, for whatever reason, most likely you're pressing the play button on your keyboard or your mouse and your Spotify is not open, or for whatever else is going on, it tries to open up Apple Music. And the last thing I ever want to do is open up the Apple Music. So this will simply just, if I open up music, it just immediately, it doesn't even get a half a bounce in on my dock, and it just immediately kills it.
That's great.
So yeah, great little app. You download it on GitHub. I was so happy
love
to
how
find
many
that.
These apps are like just fixing holes in Mac OS.
Yeah.
Like making the experience. We're going to get a lot of Linux and Windows users being like, why don't you just use Windows? But yeah, sometimes you need systems to just make it perfect for yourself.
Yes. And yeah, I have no interest in
Same.
in
I already know what you're going to
Linux
say.
or Mac, because like most of the stuff I do is on the web, and like these desktop apps are becoming less and less of a need, but I'm not interested in learning something else, and honestly, I don't think it's as good. Like whenever you talk to anybody about the Windows version of Warp or Raycast or these Arc, the Windows versions are, it's like, oh, well, it's similar. Pretty good. Yeah. And you can just see the pain in their eyes as the Dell Inspiron is flashed in their eyes behind, just a single tear of it. I'm joking.
Yes.
People hate Mac people so much, but I hate that as much as well, but I do think it's the best choice.
One time when I worked at a computer store in college, and I had my like knit beanie on in the summer because I was like one of those ones with the brims, I was that kind of kid. And some guy came in and he was just like talking about how he hates Mac so much. And he was like, I hate Apple users because they're just some hipsters wearing knit beanies in the summer. And then he looks over at me and I'm just like, you were talking about me. And unfortunately, I do fit your stereotype. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. But I think any platform has holes in it. People want to talk about Linux, but then we get into graphics drivers and all sorts of things. The fact that you got to jump on the command line to do almost anything on Linux, like that's not for normal people. I can handle it, but I'm not going to give a Linux laptop to somebody I love and to have fun with it. So yeah, I think there's definitely holes in every single platform. And I think the Mac OS holes are ones that I can fix easier, and I like the general experience better overall. But yeah, you can come at us if you don't agree with that.
I've got another one here, which is another Chrome extension, and it's called Search by Image. And this one is way better than anything that's built in. So first of all, if you ever go to like Instagram and you want to right click on an image, you'll know Instagram does this annoying ass thing where they put like a div in front of it, or they use a background image, and you can't find it, and then you end up just screenshotting it. But this little things. So watch this. Right click, search by image, open image, and boom, it knows that your mouse was over top of that element and it finds it for you, which is amazing. That's not even the search by image part. It just is easy to find background images. But watch this. So search by image, all search engines. So I have it set up for Google, Google Images, Bing, Yandex, Baidu, and Sagu. I didn't turn that one on. I don't know what that is.
I've never even heard that.
But the Yandex one is by far the best. If you're ever trying to find an image, Yandex reverse image search is the best. So you click on it and it opens tabs for every single one.
Holy cow.
And look at that. So now if Google Images found this was the Instagram post, but it also found it on Twitter, right? Google search finds it in a couple places. Microsoft Bing shows me a bunch of photos of white dudes holding babies.
Yes.
See, Yandex does the same.
Oh, that's so funny.
But it doesn't. And what else is there? Baidu shows me t-shirts you can buy. And I don't even know what this one is. Sogu. I've never heard it before. But
that's so funny.
I find this one so good because it automatically opens all of them. And if you're looking for where an image is from, chances are one of those 7 websites are going to find it.
You find it Sogu?
Sogu, yeah. Sogu is so good.
Yeah. You know what Courtney really has a really high level of a hit rate with is on the iPhone, I believe within Google itself, in Google Photos, you can... I don't know how she does this because I haven't seen her do it. But let's say you see a pair of shoes that you like and it's on someone, maybe even like an influencer is wearing a pair of shoes she likes and she takes a screenshot of it and she just says, find me these shoes. And it finds it every single time. It's like incredible. It uses AI somehow and does it. But man, it's like really impressive. She finds anything. So
yeah, it's amazing. Even like a lot of these like drop shippers are getting pooched by that type of stuff as well. There's this website called Dupe, which is dupe.com, which essentially does the same thing, which is if some white labeler or drop shipper is trying to charge you $12,000 for a chair, and then you can, it turns out that's on Wayfair as well. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah. If you are out there and you're buying furniture, dupe.com is essential to check before you press buy on that thing.
We just realized we're 40 minutes in and hardly anywhere down the list of
looking
them.
At our list.
Next one I have here is eqMac. This one is really nice if you have multiple inputs or you want to change the tone on some things. So I have a set of speakers here. So when I'm connected to my speaker output, I want my Spotify to have a little bit more bass in it. And I just turn those knobs ever so slightly. And it makes it sound a little bit better. They're not super nice speakers, so it makes it sound better to me. Big fan of this app. I tried out several of them. Yeah.
Let's get into some utilities here because we have Raycast, but honestly, we could do a whole episode on Raycast.
I think we should.
So many Raycast utilities that I use daily. So let's take an opportunity to talk about Raycast in another episode. But utilities, Wes, you have iStat menu, and I got to say, iStat menu is fine, but it's fairly expensive for what it does. So I want to put you onto this one, which is Stats. It's an open source alternative to iStat menus, and you'll happen to notice that it looks very, very similar. So it's very customizable. It's great. It's open source. It does everything that iStat menus does. So before you spend any money on that, which I have in the past, I've bought iStat menu before, check out Stats here.
iStat menu is $12. That's not a lot.
No, it's breaking the bank.
It's a single. It's a single payment too. So I'm very much support of that because you don't have to pay $4 a month for the rest of your life.
Okay, well, I've bought iStat menus as well, and
I'll check this out though. Like obviously, free is great. What I love so much about iStat menu is it gives you your memory, it gives you your CPU and GPU, which I use quite a bit when we're sharing screen or when I'm recording or anytime we're doing any video stuff. I like to keep an eye on CPU and GPU, make sure that I'm not maxing it out. And then the other one they have, you see right here, I'm not going to click it because it's going to show my
location.
It's going to show my IP address.
Oh, okay.
But this shows me my upload and download, which is really important because often we'll say, hey, Scott will be like, hey, you're glitching out. And then I'll look up at that and take a look. And a lot of times it's, oh, my Backblaze is running and I'm maxing out my upload bandwidth right here. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to know, is it actually downloading something right now? Like, is this working? You know, something is stalled. It's downloading macOS update. You can click on it and it will show you which app is uploading or downloading some stuff. So you can see, oh, it actually is doing something right now. Even Riverside, when I'm at the cottage, I often will have Riverside. It has to upload for hours after I'm done because it's a slow upload. And sometimes I'm looking at it going from 66 to 67, and I think it's frozen. It's not doing anything. So I'll click on it and say, oh, no, I see my Firefox or whatever is still uploading data.
Yeah, I'm going to rattle through a couple of alternatives here to other popular Mac software. Bartender is a super popular app. This one is open source and it's ICE. It does everything Bartender does. Bartender was also just recently sold to another company, so you never know what's going on there. You know,
they've had a bug on it for months with the new Mac OS, and it hasn't been fixed.
It was obnoxious to me. Yeah, it was like asking for permissions and all sorts of stuff. I think that's the same bug. Either way, I found ICE to be a completely fitting replacement. Besides, I do not need a menu bar hider to be like any more full featured than what do you want to hide and how do you want to hide it. So, you know, for me, it's just keeping this cleaner than having all of my things bleed all over the top. So ICE is really good. And then another one is a lot of people use Clean My Mac, which is a software that I do feel like price gouges you a bit. And it's you know, Clean My Mac is great, but there's certainly things I don't love about it. There's an open source called PearCleaner. The UI obviously isn't as beautiful as Clean My Mac, but it does the job. It finds the startup processes. It finds all of the orphan files that you might have had if you deleted the app or anything like that. So between ICE, Stats, and PearCleaner, those are like three utilities that I've always had to buy in the past. Now there's really nice open source versions.
Oh, I still use Bartender because
crazy.
I can't live without this feature, which is being able to click on menu bar apps without finding it. Because I don't know what it is about me, but when I look at the list of 30 icons looking for the app, it drives me crazy when the only way to interact with an app is by some little black and white icon in the menu bar, and they all are clouds. And I don't know what they are. And you click on the wrong one and it opens up Adobe Updater. So I don't know. I just go goofy trying to find it, and it makes me so mad. So I use Bartender, and I wish Raycast would do this. I did a YouTube video with Raycast, and I said, you guys got to do this feature. And they cut it out of the video because I don't know if they thought they won't ever implement that or if it didn't have any space. But this will allow you to say, okay, well, I want to open up Clean Shot. If I could type, there we go. Then you can hit it, and then it will open it up. It's on my other screen right now. But
hey, Wes, I got something
good.
for you here. This is in ICE.
It's unchecked.
But it's the next one.
Oh.
I mean, it's. I don't know if they're implementing these in order or anything, but it exists on their radar at least.
I hope so. That would be huge for me.
Yeah, it's a cool app. Yeah.
Next one I have here is called Numi, and this is for people who like to just have like a scratch pad in their VS Code. Well, you're trying to figure out some numbers or trying to do some quick math as to like how does this split work. So what Numi will do is you can kind of just write Markdown, and it will just evaluate it to the right of it. So like if I say like I don't know, like 10, Scott is $10, I have $12 and $32, you know, it just immediately evaluates it to the right. And then you can just kind of view it as you go, and it will do all of your inches and converting currencies and liters.
There's kind of cool stuff on here where it says next Friday plus 2 weeks, and then it gives a date. 2 milliliter in teaspoons. Wow, this is really neat. And hey, folks, this is Mac, Linux, and Windows, so not just Mac folks on this one. I didn't know about this. This is pretty awesome.
Is it open source too?
Yeah, it's on GitHub. You can install via Homebrew even.
Oh man, It's a really cool app. Big fan of it.
Here's what I have one that is, kind of related to stats and that kind of stuff. It is a command line utility, so it's not like a full app here. But if you've ever used Top on your computer to see the processes and stuff like that, like very much like what you would use iStat for, this one is Bottom or BTM. It's a Rust-based one. It's really cool, really beautiful, runs nicely in the background, and I use this quite frequently. It also just like if one, I have a computer over here that I just use as a server really, and I just keep this on the screen all the time, so it looks like I'm cooler than I am.
That's awesome. I like this app called Sip as a color picker, and there are a bazillion color pickers out there, and I really like that this one can be bound to a keyboard shortcut. So I just have Hyper P and automatically open up my color picker.
Ooh.
And then you can also have it export the values in the different, what you want. So if you're pasting into VS Code, it will paste as a hex. If you're pasting into Xcode, it will give you a RGB. And it will also keep all of your colors as a color picker. So you can go back and see the list of them. And I think it's like $5 a year or something like that. Wow. And been a big
$5
big
a
fan.
year is a little much for me, but I just use Raycast for this, which we'll obviously talk about Raycast in another episode. But this is the first one that I've seen that's made me consider not using Raycast because
the Raycast has like everything built in, and often I find myself being like, I just don't want to open it, or like I guess you can
exactly
put a thing on it, keyboard shortcut.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I use it. You know what? It boggles my mind completely that Figma has a color picker, right? And you cannot use the color picker in Figma outside of the Figma window. It is 2024, folks. There's 2 features in Figma that drive me nuts. You cannot drag an image from the browser, SVG or otherwise. Like I want to drag an SVG from a website into Figma, and it cannot do that. What, I got to drag it to my desktop and then drag it into Figma? Sketch could do that. Sketch could do that. And same with the color picker. You get the little color picker and it stops at the edge of the window. What are you talking about? Why?
Yeah. Oh man, SIP is now $27 a year.
A year?
Oh.
For a color picker?
Updates.
Okay.
No, thank you. This was like, I'm guarantee I paid like $4 for it.
Buy SIP for just $20. Buy a color picker for
$20
just $20
per seat. Every freaking company is doing this per user, per thing.
That bothers me. This thing is great too. I really wanted to use this. That sucks.
Unpick that. You can't. No one's paying yearly for a color picker. It's probably because people love it, and then they always go like corporate. Share your color schemes with your entire team.
That's why I talk about habit trackers, right? All of them start off very simple, and they do one thing, and then next thing you know, it's got a full-on RPG system in there where you're like, level up by completing habits and do this and share this. And I'm like, I just want to track my dang habits. I just want to color pick. Man, that sucks. I feel like we could build this in a weekend, Wes.
I'm pretty sure we could. I'm trying to find... No, I can't find my receipt from it, but I guarantee it was like $6 buy once. And I realize that that's hard for people to make money on because at $6, your couple bucks goes to Stripe for processing, and then that's all you have, and then you got to provide updates forever. All these new color spaces, and every time Mac OS updates, you got to fix everything. So I realize that that's hard, but I prefer the let me buy the upgrade if I need it.
Version 2, version 5.
Yeah, I think that's what they do here, but $27. I think that this is still a one-time payment, but $27 for a one-time payment, and then you don't get updates after a year.
That's still more palatable than like a subscription.
Yeah, totally. Sketch is like that. You pay for 1 year of Sketch, and then you can use it forever, and until after a year you stop getting updates, and then if you need it again, if you want the newest updates, you can pay a bit more.
Yeah. I honestly, it looks great. And the hard part is that, yes, I want to support development. I think that's great. If this is, in fact, like an automatic subscription and you can't just do that's a different story. But I would pay $20 to use this and not pay again unless I wanted to. Sip, you may have me back on your side. We'll see.
All right. Man, so we have so many more for productivity, screen recording, some developer ones. We'll have to do a part 2 of this episode because we're getting a little long here. But there are literally so many little apps that we use in our day-to-day that makes things so much easier.
Yeah, we have a lot more for you. And I promise they're not all Mac. Some of these are online. Some of these are all kinds of things. So I hope you enjoyed this. And if there's any particular tool, maybe alternatives to things that we said in this episode, stuff that you cannot live without, drop those in the comments. We're on YouTube, so the best place to let us know is in the comment section of YouTube. We will check this stuff out. I'm the type of person that downloads a massive amount of these things and gives them a try, even if they don't end up being the thing I keep on my computer. Luckily, I have something like PearCleaner that just removes them all for me. So yeah, let us know what you think about these options and let us know if you have any better options. But that's all I got. What about sick picks and shameless plugs, Wes? Do you have a shameless or a sick pick for us today?
I'm going to sick pick another TV show. Ever since we had Tim from Next.js on and he recommended Apple TV, there's so much good stuff on there that I've never heard of, and it's like a breath of fresh air getting a new subscription. So we had finished this one series called The Big Con, which was about this like lawyer down in the South where he would like he was like in it with the judge, and he would get people money that they were not supposed to have, and then some people were supposed to have it, and it's a wild, wild story. So it's called The Big Con. I'm doing a bad job at explaining it, but if you love docu-series type of documentaries that are about like scams and people's whose personality is just like, I cannot believe that is a person, you're going to want to check this one out.
Yeah. Have you watched Severance on Apple TV?
No.
Okay. Severance is a bit slow. If you're not into slow stuff, but it's fantastic. It's about a corporation that Adam Scott works at, and when you join this corporation, they put a chip in your brain, so your brain does not have it separates your memory from while you're at work and while you're away from work. So when you enter the doors, the time you don't remember anything that happens while you're at work, and when you leave, you don't remember your whole day. And there's a whole lot there. It's very aesthetic. It's a really cool show. It came out a couple years ago, and season 2 is just about to come out. So it was really, really cool show. If you're into that
my
sort
wife,
of thing.
she loves everything Scott recommends.
Okay, well don't put that kind of pressure on me.
Is this an official endorsement or like you might like it?
Oh, well, we really enjoyed Severance, and it is a little slow and plotting sometimes, but it's very very smart and really intense in some ways. So if you watch 1 or 2 episodes, you'll get the vibe for the rest of the season. But it's got a great cast and overall like really cool aesthetics. Given that we were just talking about like Apple episode,
sweet.
Yeah, I'm gonna sick pick these wild protein chips. Protein chips. We're getting into snacks here. Specifically, the ones that I like were I don't even know if they have them in their little carousel. The pink salt ones. It is a cool website. Look at this. We want to talk about carousels. This carousel is like got a double layered navigation here. Chicken and waffles ones are pretty good, a little sweet. But the pink salt wild chips, what's great about these chips is that they're made of chicken breast. So they're not potato chips. They're chips made of chicken breast, and therefore they have protein in them.
It's like a dog
They taste
treat.
really good. Dude, they're so fantastic because they're really thin. So they're not like chunky like a dog treat, right? They're thin like a potato chip, and they crisp and all that stuff. They sell it at Costco in Colorado. So we get these all the time at Costco. But they are, man, shout out to the Wild Web Development team. Did anybody
This is
just
such a
see
good
that?
website. You don't see this kind of love on websites anymore.
Watch this bag fall over on scroll. Sorry, my internet's choked out right now for some reason. It's not the website, I promise. It's my network. All right. Watch this bag fall over. Oh,
Whoa.
Cool. Yeah. That's great. Oh, yeah. Okay. Shout out to the Wild team.
Every single chip is its own element. Oh, it's built on Shopify Oxygen, too.
Okay, shout out to the Oxygen team. But also, man, agency that put this together, developers that put this together, y'all got it, because this thing is gorgeous.
What do you think they're
Look at this
using on here?
parallaxing. Oh, look at this parallaxing.
All the animations.
For the anime, I mean, it's React, so the whole thing is probably Framer Motion, is my guess, or GSAP. GSAP or Framer Motion.
They got Sentry on there. You buy wild chips.
Wild.
Yeah, wild chips.
Tailwind.
I guess I could bring on here. This is kind of interesting. Maybe in vendors.
I feel like this is the only podcast that would dive into a chip website.
Klaviyo.
To try to...
It's all chunked up, so it's kind of hard to...
Yeah, the chunks are hard because, you got to look in every single chunk.
Sometimes you can inspect a chip and then go to the associated React component.
Oh, yeah, and get some...
If they haven't stripped the names...
Do you have the React Dev Tools in here? Oh, you do.
Yeah.
You do. You have the React Dev Tools open. Okay, remix provider, suspense, context, transition context provider. Transition context provider. I don't know if that is leaning towards anything specifically. Yeah, a lot of these are minified, so they're kind of nonsense names here. I was hoping I could just go into the chunks themselves and see...
Yeah, usually they'll have like a
function name or something.
Yeah. Sometimes there's like a global GSAP, but probably not.
The carousel is Slick Carousel, which that's available.
There it is. It is GSAP. There we go.
Wow, GSAP, folks. Shout out to Cassie Evans from GSAP. Yeah.
That's a great website.
Cool platform. Okay, this makes me want to use GSAP more. Sick.
Makes me want to get some chips.
Yes, they're fantastic, y'all. I've only had the pink salt, chicken and waffles, and buffalo ones, but they've all been amazing. So, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's enough for chips. As always, if you want to get more syntax, you want to see the visuals, you want to check out this website we're fawning over, head on over to YouTube /@syntaxfm. We're on YouTube all over the place. CJ has been putting out a lot of really great content lately. He even did a video on Hono? Which one?
It's not Hano. I say Hano, and that is
I know.
wrong.
Do you know what? When the Veet thing came about, it was like there were so many different people saying it. Like I got confused on which one's the right one. So
I got that one because we learn French in here in Canada.
Yes. So thank you so much for watching or listening, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace.